I'm Hillary Hendershot, your host, and this is Profit Boss Radio, episode 105. Profit Boss Radio is your weekly wealth mastermind. Profit Boss is also a community and a movement for women who are ready to take control of their money, break the glass ceiling, and give ourselves permission to finally have enough. Want the secrets of wealth to be yours? This is the place. I'm Hillary Hendershot. I'm a certified financial planner running a leading advisory firm for women, and I'm sharing with you real stories from real life and real women who are making it happen. Forget Wall Street. Let's do this, ladies. I'm pleased to introduce to the Profit Boss Radio audience a wonderful sponsor, creditrepair.com. And if you've got anything but beaming pride about your credit score, I want you to give them a call. Creditrepair.com can help make sure that there's nothing on your credit report that shouldn't be there. I can tell you from personal experience, though, full disclosure, I didn't use creditrepair.com, but I can tell you Credit Repair works. It worked for me, and I now have a near perfect credit score. Visit their website at creditrepair.com or call 1-833-333-2282 today to learn more. Just a quick minute here to send some heartfelt gratitude and love to those of you who've been leaving reviews on iTunes lately. Just thought I would read a few of the best and my favorites. From Chilita, it says, the best, thumbs up, and 5 stars. I have learned so much. Thanks, Hillary. From Nicole 2016, really love this advisor. Great quality content, so accessible. I really felt like Hillary was speaking to me and cared about what I need. Highly recommended. And finally, from Callie D, the best financial advice. Thank you so much for this podcast. Hearing financial advice from a successful woman's perspective really helps me embrace my own financial goals and hurdles. Automating finances was the simplest thing I've heard and the easiest to implement. I look forward to each episode and what other parts of my life can be improved with a little more firsthand advice. To those of you listening, if you have a moment and you have good feelings about the show, would you please take a minute today to leave a review? I really do appreciate them, and it really does help me get the word out about Profit Boss Radio and the good work we're doing here. Thanks. Hey, Profit Boss, I am here today with you, with a good friend of mine and sister in empowering the ladies financially. Her name is Jen Hemphill. She's a military spouse and a proud bilingual Latina. She helps women who are tired of the traditional money advice gain a renewed sense of control, confidence, and freedom in their financial life. She is a money confidence coach. She's also an accredited financial counselor and host of the Her Money Matters podcast. Jen's first book is what we're here to talk about. It's called Her Money Matters, The Missing Truths from Traditional Money Advice. Welcome, Jen.
Thanks for having me, Hillary. I'm excited to be here.
This is really exciting because writing a book is something I want to do it, and I'm no way I want to do it. So
you should do it.
Whenever someone close to me writes and publishes a book, I always think, I got to know what they know now. What was it like? How did it go? Do you have boxes and boxes of this book stacked up in your garage? Do you hate it yet? Do you hate looking at the cover, or is it doing everything that you want it to do? So I am going to just treat this conversation as my own personal little informational interview. But I want to first, I want you to tell your story. What unique message have you developed over the time you've been blogging and podcasting and writing and talking with women about money? What is your unique contribution to this conversation that you put in this book?
For me, it's more about talking what people don't talk about with money advice. So basically, bottom line, the messages that we hear or the advice we hear when it comes to money experts is save more, spend less, and get out of debt. And that's all fine and good, and they're great messages. But with money, we know there's an emotional component, there's a behavioral component to it. And in the book, I cover those areas because it's not talked about enough. And I personally myself experienced this where I was the person reading the personal finance books. I was the person applying all this advice to our life. And then 10 years into our marriage, I'm looking at our bank accounts. I'm looking at our retirement. I'm thinking, what the heck happened here? Because not that we were in a bad financial situation, but our retirement, we were barely putting in our retirement. We hadn't increased that amount. We were still in debt. Our emergency savings, we continue to deplete over and over again. And then on top of that, I felt a lot of shame because people were looking up to me for personal finance advice. And here I am, they think I've got it together, but inside me, I'm like, oh my gosh, if you only knew. So that sent me really on a journey to figure out why were we stuck. And it led me to learn about mindset and all those other things that I cover in my book.
And now, is that when you started to publish and podcast about money? What led to you creating a platform?
Well, that was much later because being a military spouse, I was always trying to figure out what kind of career can I have that allowed me to be at home with my kids. Because as a military spouse, my husband gets deployed. He gets sent off. And it was really, really important for me to have at least that one parent that was stable, if you will, that was able to volunteer at our kids' school, that was really there. And I was a latchkey kid, so I didn't want that for my children. So I was always looking for for a career. And my husband, there was one year, he sent me an email that was an opportunity for military spouses, because the military really tries hard to take care of their spouses in terms of especially the career side of how can we support the military spouses to maintain a career, to grow in a career, because they know the sacrifices that we make. So that email ended up being for a fellowship that the FINRA Education Foundation put together, and it was to become an accredited financial counselor. So that started the path. I'm like, okay, this could be what I could do, right? Because I was always interested in finances, and that's where it started. But it wasn't until years later where I'm like, okay, maybe I should do this as a business versus looking for a job.
Okay, so you run the podcast and you have a blog, and are you making money on the blog, or is it just from your coaching?
The coaching. Mm-hmm.
So I think you offer little money masterminds, right? Or you do one-on-one coaching?
I do mainly one-on-one coaching. I do have a membership program as well, and just a one-off digital products or mini courses, if you will. But mainly it's the one-on-one coaching is the main revenue stream. Okay.
And you get approached by a traditional publisher.
Yes.
Says you should write a book. And what do you think about that?
And I'm like, does he know I'm a podcaster? That was like literally, I'm like, did he look? I don't consider myself, yes, I have a blog, but it's the show notes of the podcast that someone does for me. Being real here. So that was my first thought. And I'm like, everybody writes a book. Especially in our space, you see your colleagues and writing books. And I'm this type of rebel. Well, if everybody's doing it, I don't want to be doing it. But once I got over myself and really thought and reflected on this, I thought this is really an honor for a publisher to approach me and say, hey, we like what we see. Would you write a book? So I thought through it, and my husband was actually getting ready to deploy. And so I had to consider all those things, right? So my husband's getting ready to leave. This is a massive project. Should I do this? Does this make sense for me at this particular time? And of course, as crazy as I am, I said, yes, let's do it. So I dive head first or feet first, however you want to say, and started writing the book. Something is really the biggest project I've ever took on. It's a massive, massive project to write a book.
So when you decided to self-publish, what changed about your plans, about how you were thinking about your launch? What does it mean to self-publish?
Once I wrote the book, somewhere during that time, when I turned in the manuscript to this publisher, things didn't go according to plan, or we couldn't see eye to eye. But I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful because if he hadn't approached me, I probably wouldn't have a book at this moment in time, right?
Right.
So definitely grateful. So
what are some of the things you disagreed on?
Mainly the book cover. So I wanted, that was the thing. We couldn't get past the book cover. So basically, I did not want a book cover, and there's nothing wrong with book covers with piggy banks and dollar signs, but that's not what I wanted for the book cover for my audience. My audience is women. I wanted something feminine, something that was more attractive to women versus the piggy bank, right? So I didn't want that type or a textbook looking cover. So we couldn't agree upon that, and I'm the one that's going to promote it. So I had to stand my ground and say, I have to be proud of the book, right? And if I'm going to promote the book and have to, hold it up in my hands, I have to be proud with it or about it. So therefore, we fortunately parted ways amicably. But
that was it. He wanted you to have a piggy bank, and you said no.
Well, it wasn't a piggy bank. We won't go what the book cover looked like, but that's like another story.
Okay.
Yes, it sent me to tears. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
But so then I had to figure out, do I continue the the traditional publishing route, which means I had to put together a proposal, find an agent, and pitch myself, really. And I didn't have the bandwidth at the moment in time to do all that because I've put all this work and effort. I wanted to just move on and continue forth versus having this stall moment until I found a new publisher, because I know that's hard. And so therefore I decided to go the self-publishing route, which in self-publishing, really what I did, like the technicality, I didn't do it all myself. So is it self-publishing? It's more of an indie. I'm more of an indie author, if you will. So I found a fantastic editor for the book, which led to a fantastic person. She is, and I'm going to mess this up, hybrid book publisher or micro hybrid. I mess that up all the time. But basically in that field, so there's a traditional publishers that take, like, the author makes very little money, and then per book, and then the hybrid or these companies that help you self-publish the book, so you don't have to learn to do all the interior formatting and whatever else happens. Notice I definitely hired someone else to do that, but she basically, with their type of a business model, is depending on which option you choose, I retain the rights to the book, and it was like basically a done for you service. So the interior formatting, the copyright, the ISBN number, and all the other details that needed to happen. And I also found a fantastic book cover designer as well. But yeah, I was just very grateful to have found them. And an all-woman team, too.
Hey. Give the ladies jobs. I like it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so describe a week in the life of someone who's launching a book. How many of your hours are dedicated to this? Are you physically touring anywhere? What fills your days? So basically, in launching the book, what I decided to do in terms of promoting the book, I decided just to focus on podcast interviews. I could have tried to put the effort in being on TV or radio, but I know the podcast world because I'm a podcaster. So I decided just to focus my efforts there. And I tried to outsource as much as I could. So I hired someone. Even though I know people in the podcasting space, I didn't have the time necessarily to say, hey, will you have me on the podcast, right? So hired someone to help me do that. So that was important. So I already had the team to help me with the book part. Hired someone to help me with getting on podcasts. And then she also helped me. I also hired her, that same podcasting person, to help me create
just the promotional posts for the launch team, those type of things. Then it was literally about forming a launch team and keeping them motivated. So that was another part. In terms of hours, I'd have to think through, but it did take a good bulk of my time because my book launched February 13th, and all of January, my time was doing podcast interviews and recruiting members for the launch team. And I had not a huge launch team, but they are complete rock stars. So I had 60 plus people, and I say 60 plus because we have some unofficial members in the sense that they just, hey, I just want to support you. So I count those in. But it was really taking time and spending time with the launch team. And in the launch team, which I'm pretty proud of, like we have a Facebook group. I would do a daily post, but I would also bring in the editor, the book cover designer, and because what I noticed is that some of the people on my team were also either A, thinking about writing a book, or B, already in the process of writing a book. So I wanted to give back. They're helping me. I wanted to give back and sharing some value from these people that are already in the space.
Yeah.
So I would provide interviews. I would, Fridays, I did a live, just kind of a recap of the week, what was going on, just cheering them on throughout the week. Because again, I'm all about, they're helping me out, but I just want to make sure that I give them as much value as well as just being grateful as well.
So your launch team, you're not paying them. What's in it for them?
Basically,
and who are they?
Thank you.
Are they fans, customers? Who are they?
A couple, a few, pretty much a mix. So people from my audience, some clients, just people in the finance space, friends from a long time ago that I hadn't been in touch with. So just a mixture of people. So it was pretty cool.
Very great. All right. And are you happy with how it's going so far?
Yes, I couldn't have asked for anything better. So one of the things when you launch a book is right off the gate, let's say, like I said, my launch date was February 13th, is to have reviews, right? Mm-hmm. So they got a copy, my launch team got a copy of the book. We're having actually a party to celebrate them, and I'm just going to do some fun things to recognize them. And so right off the gate, it's recommended that you have a good bit of reviews for your launch date, because reviews on Amazon helps you rank up in their engine. So that's the more reviews you have, the more likely that Amazon is going to show you your book to people. Mm-hmm. So definitely I hustled to get those reviews, and they just delivered. Like in our launch team, out of the 60 plus people, I had a little over 30 reviews on that first day. So that was fantastic. The downloads for Kindle were fantastic. The paperbacks, which in the self-publishing world, the statistic is that in the life of a book, which I don't know what that means. Like, when does a book die? I'm not sure.
When the last person buys it and we bury it.
Right. So when does that happen? So literally in the life of the book, whatever that means, an indie author sells 200 copies. That's it. Paperback copies. So so in terms of paper, and then I think traditional, is about 300 an average, right? So
that's not that many.
That's not that many, right? So in the first week for my book launch, we sold 40, which I'm like feeling pretty good for one week. So that's pretty good, especially knowing I'm not Oprah, right? Not Oprah. I hate to disappoint you, Hillary, but I'm just saying. So for my size of a platform, the feedback, the reviews, the sales, I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, thanks for giving us the inside scoop on publishing and self-publishing. But now I definitely want people to hear about the juicy and valuable content in your book. Let's talk about, you said you and your husband were doing all of the things. You were spending less and saving more. But when you sat down and looked at the numbers, you'd kind of been trending sideways for a while, and you think that this is a missing from traditional advice. So what did you discover was missing from traditional advice that would have helped you and that you're implementing now that makes a difference?
One thing that I realized that was missing was I didn't realize how much of an impact my past, how I grew up around money, had on the present. So I call that in my book, the past money story. So there's 3 money stories that I talk about in the book: the past, the present, and the future. So the past money stories, how you grew up around money, what you heard, what you experienced. And it's important you may have some memories, but it's important to really acknowledge those stories because you may be repeating the cycle. So when I'm growing up, what I heard a lot of was, we can't afford it. We don't have the money. So even though we were making decent money, I still had those thoughts on my mind, but I wasn't realizing that. So that really limited and really put me in a position where it's not that I made bad financial decisions, but I could have made better financial decisions because I was already having that self-limiting thoughts, right? So it's important to acknowledge the past money story, understand the present, and that means like how do you feel about money now? What are those thoughts that are coming in? And compare that to the past, because again, you may be repeating that same cycle. And I know that's what was happening. And then you also need to do a future money story, which is how do you want to live? How do you want to feel about money? So meaning, do you want to get excited each time you look at the bank account? Those type of things, having those abundant thoughts about money. And so you want to have those. And I always recommend it to write those things down, because I was one of those rebels where people would tell me, you need to write these things down or journal. I'm like, whatever, I don't need that. But there's a lot of clarity that you get from doing so, right? And as you write and more thoughts come in, you get more clarity and you have more of an understanding of yourselves, of your thoughts, and what's going on in your life.
Human connection. We all want to feel like we have a place to belong, right? When it comes to investing your money, it may feel like there isn't a place for you. Maybe you met a financial advisor who just wanted to sell you another product. They didn't listen. They didn't get to know you. There's been no place for you as an investor until now. My team and I launched Ignite Investing to give our Profit Boss listeners a place to belong. This is your place to start finally building your wealth with people who actually care about you. If you have $25,000 saved, you can start actively building your wealth now with Ignite Investing. Most importantly, you get human connection from real-life advisors. Me and my team, not some call center or robo-advisor where they get to know you from the previous call notes on their computer screen. We want to have a real relationship with you. We want you to feel comfortable talking to us, to be connected to your advisor so you can know you matter. We want to know your financial goals, listen to your questions, hear your concerns, and help create a customized plan with you for your financial future. So if you're tired of being just another number, there's a place for you with Ignite Investing. Visit igniteinvesting.com to learn more and see if Ignite Investing is right for you. That's igniteinvesting.com. And when you're ready, click on Get Started today. And so what are some other money lessons you've learned since then? Since you had your aha moment, you decided, hey, look it, whatever I'm doing, pressing the gas pedal at this pace is not going to get me to my destination.
Right.
So I imagine you've done like a money overhaul. What's it been like? Tell me some of the lessons you've learned.
Oh my gosh, where do I start? No, lots of lessons. And the other lesson that I learned is that the money experts don't always have the answer for you. And the reason why I say that is that money experts are definitely experts in money. And I'm not taking anything away from Dave Ramsey or David Bach or Sue Zorman or any of those experts. But what I'm saying is that those money experts are speaking to the masses. So their messages are to the masses. They're not the specific messages to you. So they're experts in money, but they're not experts in you. So what I learned too is that I was following that advice to the T, but I wasn't listening to myself. I wasn't really looking at what is it that we really wanted. I was really more forming what we should have, what we should be doing, or what should we want versus listening to what we wanted. So that was another lesson. That was a biggie.
And I feel like that's, first of all, I will say obviously I listen to a lot of money coaches, money people, money experts. You hear people say a lot of things about money, and oftentimes it sounds like we're contradicting each other. But when you get to a certain level of understanding, what you realize is, no, we're all actually accurate. It's just a different viewpoint, a different vantage point, right? There's very little that gets said that's factually inaccurate, but everyone has their own take on things, right?
Right.
And so you have to learn that. And then the other thing I'll say is what I heard when you were saying, okay, you may be a money expert and you may be speaking a truth, but it may not be my truth, is that was a huge lesson learned for me. In business, I was following all this advice, doing the thing, the ads, the SEO, the lead magnet, the thing, the blog content, but you have to apply it to your customer.
Exactly.
And, I feel like that's the same. It's kind of like, okay, you may be preaching a truth, but it doesn't fit for me. And I could spin my wheels for years trying to make that work, and it was never going to work in the first place.
Right. And that really led into confidence and really trusting yourself, right? Yeah. So I trusted in them, right, to give me that guidance and that advice, but I had to trust myself. And that's why that confidence piece for me and my coaching is very, very important, because a lot of the times when I get a new client, in the first conversations, it's all I'm hearing is what she is doing wrong, right? And then we dive more into the conversation, and then she says some amazing things that she's doing with money, right? And I have to point those out because we focus on like what we're not doing or what we're doing wrong, but we forget to acknowledge what we're doing right. And that's another thing that I talk about in the book, is like those money wins. So not focusing so much on like what we're not getting right, but also really acknowledging what we're doing well, because that just instantly boosts our confidence. And with an instant boost in confidence, you're going to have you're going to manage your money better. You're going to make better decisions just with that.
Yeah, I think sometimes when we have a low level of self-esteem, or we think I'm not good at that, or maybe I'm never going to be good at that, or I can't count on myself to accomplish that, I think kind of curiously, it leads to permission to continue to act badly in that area. And so I think confidence is important contextually because it gives you that foundation to do the things in life you need to do. I mean, let's face it, there are times I don't feel like paying bills, or I don't feel like rebalancing my retirement accounts, or I don't feel like increasing my contributions, or I'm just sort of throwing some things out there. But it's like I relate to myself like someone. I mean, obviously, I hold myself out as a money expert. I better do the right things in my financial life. And so I think that relating to yourself like you are successful is really important. And so is that a lot of the work that you do with your clients?
I do. So I do definitely do the practical work of like checking in, seeing what is going on with their budget. And that's another thing that I talk about in my book, is people have a misunderstanding of what budgeting really is. Like, well, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but they think it's about limiting themselves when it can be really so empowering. And they think that they have to look at this budget every single time, but it's really about what stage in your life you're in and how clear you are in your finances and how well you're managing your finances. But yeah, so I do get into the practical side, but I also hone in the mindset piece and the emotional, the behavioral component as well.
What do you think about budgeting?
I think it's important. And I was asked recently, because really a budget is just a plan for your money. But like I said, some people think that they have to be next to the budget all the time. Like it delegates their life. Mm-hmm. And in the book, I talk about different phases of budgeting or different stages of budgeting. So it really comes down to that those stages determine how much intensity you need with your budgeting. So let's say you're at a stage of your life where you don't know where your money's going. It's coming in, it's coming out, but you don't know what in the world is going on. So in that stage, when you're in that initial stage, you're going to need more budgeting, or you're going to need more because you need more clarity, right? And as you go and you have some systems in place where you have, let's say, automating your savings, you're putting your money to work, then that intensity of your budgeting goes down. Not that you don't need it, because life happens. You're going to have to shift, reassess your budget, make some tweaks, but it's just about the intensity. The more clear, the more in terms of systems you have in place, the less intensity you need for your budgeting.
Yeah, I think that's really actually, I guess the word I'm looking for is a sophisticated view on it. I think that you have put words to something that I really think is true. And I mean, I remember for myself when I first tightened my own belt and put myself under a strict, I don't do budgeting, I do automation. But it's the same thing. I had one bank account that I was spending from, and I couldn't spend more that was in that bank account, my one debit card. And, I was spending $8 a day to eat. That was for food and beverages. And granted, this was 10 years ago or something like that. So, I mean, a little bit of inflation makes that number different, but $8 a day, right? That's tight. That's intense. I was not even buying a cup of coffee. That's at Starbucks. That was $3 back then.
Yeah, that's not much.
No, and now the numbers don't look like that because I made it through that intense time. Yeah. All right, good. And so you say most of us are only getting 10% of our financial life right. Oh my goodness. I'm 90% wrong.
So basically all of that is saying, and what that means is that back to the messages that we hear: save more, spend less, get out of debt. When we look, so we are focused, and it's not our fault. It's what we're taught, right? What we hear, the messages that we hear in the media. You need to budget. You need to save more. You need to put in and put away for retirement. And those are definitely some things we're doing, but those are more like the money skills, the budgeting and the saving and all that. So those are the money skills. So in my book is really the foundation of my book. I talk about the money headquarters. So your money headquarters is really your financial life. And in your money headquarters, it's composed of three things. It's composed of your money mindset, your money actions, and your money skills. So how I view life and in my experience, and this is a book I wrote, so obviously it's my opinion, it's the money mindset really in the scope of your money headquarters takes up about 60%. And then if you go into your money actions, and when I'm talking about money actions, I'm talking about talking money, which we don't do enough of. I'm talking about negotiating, right? Those type of things. And in the scope of the money headquarters, money actions take about 30%. So we got 90%, right? And then the money skills, so that's the budgeting, the saving, those type of things, that's about 10%. And that's what we're focused on most because that's what we're taught, right? That's what we hear over and over again, which is why I say this is why we get stuck. Well, this is why we get stuck in this hamster wheel where we run, and we're not getting anywhere, right? Because we don't know about those other components, right? Or maybe we heard about them, but we don't know how they tie into our financial life.
So it's like that picture of the iceberg, and you see the iceberg above the water. Only like 10% of the iceberg is above the water, and 90% of it is below. And it's like everything that lies beneath. And you're saying your money headquarters is really run by your money mindset and your money emotions. Yeah.
Because it's like the foundation of a home. So in a foundation of any home, if you don't have a sturdy foundation, that home is in trouble,
Exactly.
right? So that's why the money mindset piece is the foundation. And then the other layers are the actions, money actions, and the money skills.
Okay, let's talk about self-care. You have a chapter in your book about self-care. What do you have to say about self-care and financial self-care, and why does that matter?
So with self-care, it's an important piece of your financial life, because if you don't take a moment to just take care of yourself, think about the day-to-day now, right? In modern life, it's hustling all the time. We're going all the time. And that doesn't allow us, we have to make decisions. We have to, if we have kids, pick up the kids, like literally kids run our life. I know they're running my life right now. And if we don't take some time for us to soak up some sun rays, to really have some downtime, it doesn't help the bandwidth in our brain. So day to day, we use so much bandwidth, and by allowing some self-care, it's going to open up that bandwidth, if you will, and allow you to think more clearly. And that's really what self-care is about. So if you're thinking more clearly, you're able to make better financial decisions, which is why I definitely included that in the book, because again, we go, and we have so much stuff going on that sometimes we just don't make the best decisions when we're tired. So it's just really taking some time to take care of you, to rest, to laugh, to be goofy, whatever it is that you do to take care of you.
I've also heard recently budgeting and paying your bills and paying your taxes being a form of self-care. It's like you have to have financial integrity. You need to do the things that you don't want to do maybe, but need to get done, so that you don't have that cognitive dissonance, that little warning light in your brain that keeps you from being totally present with your work and the people you love and your kids. And that women don't talk about those kinds of things as self-care, but they're also things that need to get done.
Absolutely. I agree.
All right. So you have a chapter on becoming a master negotiator. Negotiations is a hot topic. What have you learned and what do you teach about negotiating?
So negotiating, there's two things. In that chapter, I talk about negotiating in terms of just in daily life. I'm from Colombia, so I grew up, that's what I saw. Negotiating all the time. You went and bought something and you negotiated. So that was something I knew how to do. And for some people, there's the roller coasters rides that they get the adrenaline rush. I get mine for negotiating. And so I talk about that aspect of negotiating things that you buy, or negotiating your interest card rate, because all you have to do is ask, right? Some people don't even know to call and say, hey, work with me. I'm trying to pay off this debt. Right now, my APR is at 17%. Would you consider lowering it to 12, right? And then they're going to come back and tell you we can't, or we can do 15%, whatever it is, but it's just about asking.
Right.
But I also talk about negotiating, valuing your worth in terms of work, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're in the corporate setting, and really valuing what you bring to the table, really valuing what impact you're making in that job, and not lowering yourself in terms of you can ask for a raise, right? It's just literally about asking for the raise, but coming prepared to the table. And what I mean by that is really knowing the impact let's say and I don't have a specific job in mind, but let's say with your specific position, you raise the revenue of the company, the growth or the revenue or whatever it is in that particular job. So you can bring that to the table. Hey, this is what I've done. Would you consider raising, I don't know, my income to whatever, right? So it's just about coming prepared and having that confidence that you are worth it.
And I think that this is I've had multiple examples of people on Profit Boss Radio who went to their boss. And so this is specifically about negotiating for a raise, but it's always having that evidence, having reasons, being researched, understanding what are other people earning that are doing similar to you, right?
Absolutely.
Kind of knowing the lay of the land. So. All right, great. Well, Jen, what else from the book? Is there anything that I've missed? What do you want to add? What do you want to make sure people hear about the book right before they go buy it? Oh, by the way, speaking of, hold on, sidebar for a second. I'm on Amazon. I'm on Amazon.com, and it's only in Kindle form. So
right now, as of now, because we made some edits to the book, and that's another thing with self-publishing. It's you can make some edits easy, but with the platform, with CreateSpace, they take 24 hours to approve, and now they want more information. So it's been on there, but at this moment we're recording.
Okay.
I'm having some issues with them.
Issues.
For another story. Yes.
Okay, no problem. We all love Kindle, and you can get it on Kindle. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can actually get it for free, $6.99 otherwise. So everyone's going to run out and buy the book after they listen to this. But what is the juiciest thing or the one additional thing you want to leave people with today?
Really, for me, I would say one thing that I've gotten a lot of feedback, especially from my clients, is I have a chapter that's called The Dream Budget. And it's really all about really thinking big and thinking about what you want in your life. And putting those tangible numbers. So let's say right now you're not living in the house that you want to live in. Maybe you want a slightly bigger house. Or maybe right now you feel like you're penny pinching with the grocery money, right? And that you want to be able to spend a little more. Or maybe you want to buy another car. Or maybe you want to travel more. Whatever it is, it's about putting tangible numbers and putting it in a budget spreadsheet, whatever that may be, whether in an Excel spreadsheet, whether it can be just a simple pen and paper type spreadsheet, and figuring out what does that look like? What does your income have to be, right, to get to that space that you want to be? So that's a really fun tidbit that I know I've gotten a lot of feedback with my clients, which is why I put it in there.
That's awesome.
Yes, and in the book, it also has worksheets. So every chapter has some action steps that you can take, because my audience wanted that. And it's also going to have an accompanying workbook as well. So if you don't want to write in the book, well, you want to write somewhere else, there's going to be an accompanying workbook as well that you can answer those questions and fill in those sheets, because it's really the whole purpose of the book, besides to get you thinking different about money, besides to get you unstuck, it's also really meant to serve as a cheat sheet for your financial life. So if you're feeling stuck, look at your money stories that you created right before, those type of things. So it's a matter of being able to refer back to what you did.
Okay, a workbook. So when's the workbook coming out, and how do they get access to that?
It will also be on Amazon. So as of right now, it's being worked on. And hopefully by the time this episode is out, it should be out.
Okay, great. So if I put the link to buy the book on Amazon, they'll find the workbook there as well.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right. You can get it all on Amazon. You can also find Jen at jenhemphill.com, but we'll link to everything in the show notes for this episode. Jen, thank you for being a friend of Profit Boss Radio. I could not be more in your court. I wish you the best with this book. I hope that all your book dreams come true.
Oh, thank you so much, Hillary. I've had a blast talking with you, and I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Today's episode of Profit Boss Radio was brought to you by Ignite Investing. If it's time to release all that financial anxiety and make sure you're on the right path to financial success by hiring a comprehensive wealth management team, and you have between $25,000 and $499,000 to invest, go to igniteinvesting.com now and click Get Started today. For today's show notes, visit hillaryhendershot.com. And if you love Profit Boss Radio, please share the show with your friends and, of course, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Until next time, I wish you much prosperity.